the doctor that I was interviewing, he said, look, there's a war thousands of miles away, there's a drought going on here, and yet these children, they are the chief victims of it. I traveled to Kenya, to the district of Turkana, a region facing a food emergency and in some cases famine because of a direct link with the war in Ukraine. And here's their story. We landed in the northwestern corner of Kenya in a region called Turkana, which is one of the poorest parts of Kenya. We drove out of the town we were staying about an hour and a half, and it still, you didn't see much signs of stress until you started to reach Kakuma. We got out of our car and we started going down into this dry riverbed, and then we found people digging holes. And they were just digging for water. To me, was the first sign that this is bad. We went to the stabilization ward for children, and it was just there for everyone to sort of see. There were just children everywhere. Mothers themselves hadn't eaten for sort of days. It's incredibly distressing. I was talking to several mothers. How many other children do you have?
Yeah, 4.
4 other children. And there was a big board on the wall where they kept a lot of sort of figures over the months of numbers of admissions, what the children were suffering from.
So between January of this year and May of this year, you've basically gone up in terms of number of admissions, tenfold.
Exactly, tenfold.
It was just quite clear that this was a huge problem. It's incredibly difficult, it's upsetting. I'm a father, but the most important thing is that this is a story that reaches as wide a number of people to get them to understand this complex situation and what lies behind it. How does this relate to Ukraine? You're saying, well, we're in Africa, we're in the Horn of Africa, very vulnerable part of the world. It suffered from drought for 4 years in a row. But what had tipped this into being a crisis where up to, 18 million people, those 18 million people who are at risk of starvation could be 20 million by September, was the effect of the war in Ukraine. The effects on food was huge, grain and the imports of supplies. In order for our viewers on ITV to sort of see what was happening, it was important to sort of go out and take an example of a village nearby. So when we arrived, the village elder led the villagers in song. This was the sort of hope for rain, because we'd come. They thought and they hoped that our visit to record what was happening would be a portent of bringing rain.
Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin.
There is no doubt at every single level of anyone I interviewed that Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine has impacted directly on the ability of people in the Horn of Africa to survive drought and hunger. Western countries, the United Kingdom, the United States, have not made that link in the minds of African leaders that what's happening in Ukraine, they are the greatest victims of it.